Hello, my name is Evan Jenkins. I'm Senior Vice President of Government Affairs at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. I am so pleased to be joined today by Congresswoman Young Kim of California's 40th Congressional District. She actually was elected to Congress in the year 2020 in the 39th District, and then a little redistricting, reelected to the 40th District in 2022. Congresswoman, thank you for joining me today. I hope you are well.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's very good to see you.
Thank you so much. First, before we talk about a really important topic, would you mind sharing a little bit about the 40th Congressional District and your now 3+ years in Congress and your work on behalf of your constituents?
Well, the 40th Congressional District is primarily a suburban area in Southern California, where the majority of my cities are in Orange County. And it also overlaps parts of Riverside and San Bernardino counties. What I'm hearing from my constituents whenever I return to district on the weekend is that the organized retail crime, the smash and grabs, and public safety, these are really important issues. And I can also see it because I have personally visited many of the businesses that were victimized by the smash and grab. And, it seems like it's something that I hear every weekend or every week. The victimized businesses, several of them are jewelry shops. And I went to visit with one of them and saw how their display cases and windows are shattered, goods were stolen, their livelihoods, as a result, they are destroyed. So I also hear about how the recovery process, it takes such a long time, often is very expensive, and a lot of the time they can get those items back or fully recover it financially. And then there is that issue of dealing with the insurance. Insurance covering upgraded security equipment, having to redo the way they do their business, and having to reconfigure their display cases. These are the real things that I'm hearing whenever I'm back in the district, in my 40th congressional district.
Well, Congresswoman, I think a lot of people are surprised to find out that members of Congress actually spend more time back in their district than they do in Washington. I certainly know you do. And I appreciate the fact that you take the time to visit with small businesses. Clearly, you have the pulse on what is going on in your community. And as you know, tackling this epidemic of organized crime is a top priority here at the U.S. Chamber. This issue is far more sophisticated, as you just said, than just simply one person shoplifting, but rather it's the work of highly complex criminal organizations stealing massive quantities. So, what are you hearing specifically? Are your constituents saying it's more than just one smash and grab, but they see a pattern about this and how this is impacting not only the businesses, but the constituents in your community? And these are the people who work in these stores, these are the people who shop in these communities. It has a real impact beyond just the loss of goods in a particular store.
Exactly. I mean, the threat and the danger of living in places where they hear stories about stores being broken into. It's not just the employers worried about their businesses having to adjust and adapt to the ongoing crimes, but they also have to worry about the safety of their customers that are coming in, because again, they hear the stories and they say, "Oh my goodness, I don't want to go to that store, or I don't want to go to the mall if there is a crimes being occurred." Last year, when I represented North Orange County at it included the Brea Mall, and that's where two of the jewelry shops were broken into. And then, as I was preparing to run in the new district, the new 40th congressional district, I'm hearing stories in Anaheim, in Orange, in Laguna Hills, and just one time early this year in the city of Rancho Santa Margarita, there have been 9 stores being broken into. So this really affects not just the store that is being victimized, the people that were in it who have to live with the fear of, am I going to be hit again next week or next time? But the whole community, as a result, is concerned. So it does bring the devastating impact and effect to the businesses. And it absolutely becomes a community wide issue. Each time there is a story of another business being victimized by organized retail crime, you know, again, the stories and the, people hear about it and the businesses suffer. This cannot become the new normal. So what we need to do is, I guess, we need to do as policymakers to do more to ensure that the people in the communities and the businesses feel safe to live and work in the community they're in.
Well, Congresswoman, you know the mark of a good member of Congress is somebody who, one, listens to their constituents, but also takes what they learn and puts it into action. I am so impressed with your HR 316. Would you share with our audience about your legislation? It's entitled Improving Federal Investigations of Organized Retail Crime Act. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you for your leadership. Tell us about that bill in particular.
Sure. First of all, the legislation was introduced last year, first of all, and it was introduced late in the game before the 117th Congress was ending. So we didn't get to, get it through the finish line. But I wanted to introduce it early on in the 118th Congress, which is why it was introduced in January. It was really personal stories that I heard from small businesses owners about their, smash and grab crimes. And it made me wonder, what can I do to help these businesses, especially in those cities that I mentioned in my new district? They are continuing to deal with the organized retail crimes. The small businesses are already having enough of a hard time during the pandemic, and they were exacerbated with high inflation, supply chain disruptions, and labor shortages. So, right after those concerns were discussed with me, because I have the regular meeting with the businesses and I visit with them regularly when I'm back in the district, and I also have a small business advisory groups whom I meet with on a regular basis. So they always talk about this economic concern, but they also bring up public safety issues. And we also saw in a district where there is a very diverse constituency that I have, like we have a lot of Asian American small business owners who are also expressing their concern because they also saw the rise of the hate crimes against Asian Americans, especially during the pandemic, and it just kept going up. So we introduced the Improving Federal Investigations of Organized Retail Crime Act in response to the concerns that I heard. And the legislation will direct the Justice Department, the Homeland Security Department, and also with the U.S. Postal Service and other relevant agencies to create a cohesive strategy and report to Congress on how the federal government can help them. The legislation will specifically do a couple of things. It will improve coordination and information sharing among the federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies and entities to address the organized retail crime and hold those criminal networks accountable. And it will also help to increase the collaboration with retailers, organized retail crime association, and state-run retail crime task forces. And all put that together, it will help the local authorities in compiling evidence for the prosecution of organized retail crime.
Well, it sounds like a terrific approach. We've all heard the saying, you can only manage what you measure. And this bill clearly will bring the kind of information, the coordination that's needed to tackle it in a very comprehensive way. You said very clearly about your work with your task force back in your district. Share with us what you're hearing from your colleagues on Capitol Hill. What are they saying about this issue in general? Do they get it? I know you're a strong voice for it, and about your bill in particular.
Last Congress, as you know, I served on the Small Business Committee, And we've had regular roundtable discussions where I will join my colleagues or I will host a roundtable and invite my colleagues. And one time in particular, we were doing a roundtable discussion with my small business committee colleagues, and we talked about this very issue. We invited the businesses to come and talk about the challenges they face, and many of them, the majority of them, talked about these organized retail crime, the smash and grab crimes that they are facing on a daily basis as they conduct their business. So that really helped to raise awareness of the issue, and my colleagues have been made aware of that. So we're getting very positive feedback on the bill, and I'm glad. When I reintroduced it early this year, it really was a bipartisan bill. Several of my Democratic colleagues joined me to introduce it, and it is now in the Judiciary Committee. So my team and our colleagues are working with the Committee of Jurisdiction to, work on the next steps. We're in the process of, recruiting more members to sign on as co-sponsors.
Well, let me talk about that because we want to help. Give us some thoughts or ideas about how the business community can help push back, fight against the organized retail crime, and be supportive of your legislation. What do we need to do to help, and how can we support the cause?
So, as business community, U.S. Chamber, you can reach out to other chambers throughout the nation, and also, especially, I'll do my part working with all of the chambers of commerces in my district. Invite them to meet with the members and host, roundtable discussions or seminars. Invite the businesses to share their stories, to listen to their struggles on the ground during and after those incidents. These are very, very important, as well as working with local law enforcement on the scene. So the more we know, the more helpful we can be. I would encourage anyone through your contacts or through our respective congressional offices, work with the local DA or sheriff department and encourage the businesses to report those incidents. And because those will assist state and local authorities in compiling evidence so that the prosecutor teams can really have good, solid evidence and prosecute those organized retail crimes.
Well, Congresswoman, you've been so generous with your time. I want to give you the last word. Let me first say thank you. Thank you for your leadership on this really challenging but critically important issue that affects small businesses, businesses of every size, but impacts communities. It's about safety, security. This is so fundamental to just the quality of life in communities across our country. Thank you for your willingness to tackle such a difficult issue. There are some issues in Washington that maybe are a little less controversial, less challenging, but you have been willing to tackle one that's so important, not just in California's 40th congressional district, but I'm sure every congressional district across the country. Thanks for joining us today, but I want to give you the last word. We appreciate very much your leadership, your service, and your participation today.
Sure. I mean, every congressional representative or any elected officials, their number one priority is to protect the communities. And so we need to be very vigilant in fighting to ensure that the communities that people live and work in should be safe. So, in that regard, I'm glad to be working on this issue in a bipartisan way. I would like to ask anyone who is watching the program to contact your representatives wherever you are. Find out who your congressional representative is and tell him or her to co sponsor my bill. It's H.R. 316, H.R. 316, improving federal investigations on organized retail crime. I want to thank everyone for watching, and collectively, we can really voice our concerns and we can make a difference. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Congresswoman Young Kim from California's 40th Congressional District. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you.